Alright, y'all. If you are astute observers of the channel, you will notice that I've changed the title of this from the PLC podcast to the PLC Weekly Wrap-Up. So the PLC podcast is something that Jay and I did. It was actually a podcast, and we put it out every week for the last, I think it was 2 seasons we did it. Last season was kind of strange, my PC, and then we just kind of fell off. But this is no longer the PLC podcast. This is something different. This is the PLC Weekly Wrap-Up. It's formally been changed. So yeah, I'm going to talk about week 2, talk about the transactions, talk about the standings, talk about week 3. Pretty straightforward stuff. This is just a weekly wrap-up. Nothing super crazy. You guys pretty much, you've been here before. Let's jump right in. Alright fam, you guys know the drill. We're back with the PLC Weekly Wrap-Up. So you just heard in the intro, we're changing the name from the PLC Podcast because this is not the PLC Podcast. The PLC Podcast is Jay and I hosting, doing our whole little thing, and that's not what this is. So this is going to be the PLC Weekly Wrap-Up going forward, and again, you know why you're here. We're going to cover week 2 battles briefly. We're going to cover the standings, we're going to cover the transactions, we're going to look ahead to week 3. So very straightforward, probably knock this out in 15-20 minutes. You guys know the drill. Okay, so week 2, we had 8 battles. Ian beats Ty by 4. Jay Wade beats Justin by 1. Brendan beats Corey by 1. So Corey's still, 0-2 to this point, but still early season. Corey's playing well, so I fully expect him to get that first dub soon. Dan beats Evan by 3. Aris beats me by 1. We timed out, and that was a strange one. Pulling it back, but, you win some, you lose some. Lost that one, no worries. Speakman beats Simon by 2. And Simon kind of mentioned on my post earlier this morning that he's got to step it up, and I think he will. SB beats Phil by 4, and Zach beats Brian by 3. So Zach is still undefeated after a great season last year, coming off a championship. So those are your week 2 matches. If you want to watch the week 2 battles, you can go back to YouTube, Murasame Media. He uploads the stream. So streams 10:30 on Sunday evenings. And those videos, the whole stream, gets uploaded to YouTube, Murasame Media. I'll put a link to his channel. It's Ian's channel, and I'll put a link to the stream or, these week 2 battles as well. So if you want to check that out, feel free to take a look below. But yeah, so the standings through 2 weeks, we have 5 players at 2-0. So 1 through 5 naturally. Zach, Dan, Chris, Brendan, and Jay Wade. Those players are all 2-0, and the only thing separating them is the plus-minus. But that's your 1 through 5. Then, if I'm not mistaken, we have 6 players at 1-1. So that's me, Ian, Phil, SB, Brian, and Aris. That is your 6 through 11. And then 0-2, we have 5 players: Corey, Evan, Justin, Simon, and Ty. And that's your 1 through 16. So again, Zach, Dan, Speakman, Brendan, Jay Wade, me, Ian, Phil, SB, Brian, Aris, Corey, Evan, Justin, Simon, Ty. That's your 1 through 16 through 2 weeks. I fully expect that to change because, again, it's only been 2 weeks. You win some, you lose some. Some of us have won them all. Some of us have won 1, lost 1. Some of us have lost them all to this point. But still early in the season, 10 weeks to go. No worries. All right, now the transactions. Again, I'm just going to, I guess I can cover them really quickly. But Jay Wade drops Frostmoth, picks up Poltergeist. I'm not even going to share really my thoughts on it. I like that one because I like Poltergeist, but it is what it is. Dan drops Cloth, which is sad because that's his mascot. But he picks up Dreadnought, so cool. Speakman drops Tropius, picks up Doug Trio. That was a late night. I think he had like 30 minutes, maybe less, to make that pick, but he made that pick, and yeah, cool. Brendan drops Dreadnought, a Swift Swimmer, picks up Beartick, a Swift Swimmer, kind of interesting. Corey drops Grumpig, picks up Vivillon. Justin drops Beartick, picks up Glalie. Justin doesn't make that many moves, but he's here, dropping Beartick, picking up Glalie. That's interesting. Evan drops Bayonet and picks up Caparaja. I actually made a transaction, but it's not listed. That's not great. What did I do? I picked up Wug Trio. I dropped Quagsire, picked up Wug Trio. Let me just make sure my comment's still there. Yeah, it's there. Strange. I'll type it in later. But yeah, I dropped Quagsire and picked up Wugtrio. I've got Sand this week. I guess we can kind of talk about the trades in a second, but I picked up Wugtrio. Reese drops OG Persian and picks up Frostmoth. And that's it. Those are your transactions. Drops and adds, anyways. Then we have 3 trades. So Dan trades Scyther to Evan for the Dunsparce. More to come on that one. I've got some thoughts. I traded Armarouge to Zach for Tyranitar. More to come. I have some thoughts. And then Ian trades Azumarill to Simon for Espathra. So I think Ian and Simon's trade is pretty fair. I mean, Azumarill's good. Belly Drum, Aqua Jet user. Espathra, I think it can drop special defense. Pretty chill. I think it has speed boost too, so pretty chill mon. I traded Armarouge to Zach for Tyranitar. Zach didn't come to me and ask for it. He just didn't, straight up. Someone was in chat. I think Zach actually said, hey, trade me Armarouge. And I was like, all right, whatever. The thought process behind that is Armarouge is cool. It was my first pick. It's great in Psychic terrain. It's the only expanding force user to this point in the season. It's a good mon, right? But Tyranitar is a good mon too. So naturally there's some synergy with Armarouge and Indeedee because you have the Psychic terrain, you have the expanding force. You can do, you're protected from fake outs and things like that. So cool. But Tyranitar is good too. So there's some synergy with Tyranitar too. I can go for, Sandvale users like I did with Wugtrio. I can go for Sand Rush? I think it's Sand Rush. Sand Rush users. And I can double my speed for free. I can go with, I think it's rock types that get the special defense boost. So I can go with the rock type and get the special defense boost. So basically Tyranitar is also a very synergistic Pokemon, and I can, build some synergy with, around Tyranitar, much the same as I was doing with Armarouge. But I was like, yeah, it's fine. Zach wants Armarouge, and he wanted to play with it all season. And, I mean, I'm not opposed to, if I can come out, better, if I feel like I can come out better, with any transaction, then I'm going to go ahead and make that move, and I did. So I like the move for myself, I like the move for Zach, and I think we both came out better because of it. So awesome, and yeah, that's all for that transaction, that trade. But then Dan trading Scyther to Evan for the Dunsparce. I do have some thoughts here. Evan, you picked the Dunsparce second, if I'm not mistaken, in the draft. So there was like a pool of 100 plus mons, and of those Pokemon, you picked, look at your team real quick, you picked a Mimikyu first, and then you picked a Dunsparce second. And I think you did anyways. That was where it was on the roster. I'm pretty sure that was your second pick. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, this kind of negates the whole conversation I'm about to have. But I think. I think you picked the Dunsparce second, but then you traded it for Scyther, which sat on the wire for a weekend at least. So, I mean, Scyther is a good Pokemon. Don't get me wrong. I think you can get Tailwind. I think it does get Tailwind. I think you can run... Well, I know you can. You can run Eviolite with it, so that's cool. And I think Eviolite, Tailwind, I think those are the big 2 selling points of it. But basically, it's a Pokemon that sat on the wire for a little bit. So if you wanted it at any point, you could have dropped literally anything on your team for it. So, just taking a quick look at your team, I would have dropped Flareon in 2 seconds to pick up Scyther. I would have dropped maybe Skuntank, maybe Zoroark, Lycanroc Dusk, possibly, but I would have dropped a few. I guess I actually don't really know what the Dunsparce does, to be honest. So maybe it's not a great mon. I don't know. I feel like you had to have been really high on the Dunsparce to draft it second, and then you just trade it for a Wiremon. I was like, oh man, that's not... I don't know. That's not great. But at the same time, maybe you're like, yo, if I feel like I come out better with this trade, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Just like I said, 2 minutes ago with myself. You feel like if you make this transaction, if you make this trade, and your team comes out better for it, then do it. And maybe that's how you felt. So I guess, it's completely fair. But, yeah, that's the only thing that I just thought was kind of strange. It's just that you picked it so high, and then you 2 weeks later, you're trading it for Scyther, which is a mon that you could have got anytime. So just strange, but... to each their own. I'm not here to, harp on anyone's transactions. I just thought that one was kind of strange. But I think that the transaction of the week probably goes to If I had to say anyone, I think the most maybe this one's a little different. So the transaction of the week I'm going to say is the trade between myself and Zach. So I just feel like it's not every day that you get two Pokemon that were drafted so high to be traded so early in the season. So I'm just going to point that out as, the transaction of the week. Zach gets a Pokemon that he really likes. I get a Pokemon that I can really build around. And again, that's a number 1 and a number 2 pick getting traded for each other. Kind of groundbreaking, right? That's like LeBron getting traded for Dwayne Wade. Like 3 weeks into their rookie seasons. So that would be groundbreaking. Kind of the same thing on a very, very small scale. But yeah, that's the transaction of the week. My trade with Zach, and yeah, fun stuff. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to look forward at week 3. We've been recording for about 10 minutes, and we're pretty much done. So pretty cool. This week is kind of strange because as I'm looking at it, maybe there's something that I'm missing that you guys are aware of, but I didn't really see any matchups that jumped off the page when I look at the matchups for this week. So the one that I saw is mine and Zach. And that's not because, it's my match, I'm super excited for it. No, it's just that it was a rematch of finals last year. So naturally, anytime you get a rematch of finals, that's fun to keep an eye on. But this was, a rematch of finals last year, right? So just a few months ago, Zach and I threw down. We know how that ended up. Zach beat me 2-1 and won his 3rd championship. So props to Zach. We did match up last season as well. Well, naturally, everyone matched up last season, but I think Zach beat me then too, because Zach had such a great year last year. He beat pretty much everybody, but I think he did beat me last year before playoffs. But then he beat me in finals too. So that's the big thing that jumps off the page, at least when I look at the week 3 matchups. But yeah, Zach and I match up, so it'll be fun to keep an eye on. Dan and Corey. So Corey's still looking for his first win of the season. So of his rookie year, he's looking for his first dub. And Dan is currently 2-0, so it's not necessarily going to be the easiest match. Dan has, always pretty consistently found himself, in the top of the table. I'm just trying to think back. I think one year he missed playoffs. Was it last year? Maybe the year before? I can't remember for sure. But Dan pretty much always finds himself right in the thick of it. So not going to be an easy one, but we'll see how that turns out. Then we have Speakman and Brian, so 2 of the Marylanders facing off. Should be fun. Brendan and Aris, that one should be fun as well. I feel like the Marylanders and Aris, they have a history because Aris likes to beat the Marylanders, and the Marylanders like to fight Aris. So that'll be fun to watch. Ian and Justin, so Justin, again, making a move this past weekend, which he typically doesn't do. I think I could probably count on one hand the number of transactions that Justin has had in his 3, 4, 5 seasons that he's played. Justin's been around for quite a bit, but he usually just chills with his team. But this past weekend, what did he pick up again? Glalie. Dropping Beartick, picks up Glalie. So maybe Glalie plays a big part this week. Maybe he saw something. He's like, Ian's team can't handle this ice, so I'm going to make this move. I don't know. Interesting stuff. Phil and Simon play. So Simon, again, he's commented and said he's got to stop playing around. No more mistakes this season, so let's see if he can turn that around. I think Phil is 1-1 right now. Actually, I have the standings right there. Yeah, Phil is 1-1. But Simon's still looking for, his first dub of the season. And it'd be cool to see Simon get in the mix. Usually, I think for the past 2 years, yeah, Simon's played 2 seasons, right? For the past 2 seasons, he's been out of the playoffs. So it'd be fun to see what Simon brings, to that playoff race. So, but Phil, he's been a player that I think he actually had a bye in one of his playoff runs. I'm trying to think back, I don't remember for sure, but I think he was at the top of the table for one of those seasons. But again, it's not going to be an easy one for Simon, but let's see what happens. Jay Wade and Evan. So Evan is winless to this point. I think Evan is actually still looking for his first PLC dub because last year he went 0-3, then had to drop, so technically 0-4. And then to this point, he's 0-2 on the season. So yeah, he's looking for his first PLC dub too. So we'll see how that match plays out. Jay Wade, 2-0, looking to continue the win streak. So good luck to you both. And then Ty and SB. Ty and SB are both... No, SB has 1 win. So SB is 1-1, Ty is 0-2. But Ty, I've heard that Ty wants to, turn this this season around. So Ty usually is one of those players too who's right in the thick of it, right in the middle of the table, fighting for a playoff spot. And this year he's 0-2. He's technically the last player in the standings. So I don't think he wants to be there anymore. And from what I've heard, Ty is definitely looking to turn that around. So those are your Week 3 matchups. Just again, really quickly, I will play Zach. Dan will play Corey. Speakman will play Brian. Brendan will play Aris. Ian will play Justin. Phil will play Simon. J Wade will play Evan. And Ty will play SB. The match of the week, the match to look out for, is myself and Zach. Because, again, that's playoff matchup finals from last year. We played a few months ago. Zach beat me. And yeah, that is the PLC Weekly Wrap-Up for Week 3. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it to this point in the episode, at me in chat and say white Xbox controller. And if you do that, I'll be your friend, I guess. I was going to say something crazy, but I'm not going to say anything crazy. Just at me in chat, white Xbox controller, and I will know that you are the freaking man. But yeah, that's it, guys. Again, 15 minutes, not bad. So I will see you guys in chat. Hope you have a great week of battles. Hope you just have a great week in general. And I will see you guys again in chat. Peace.